Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm doing a discussion over Heavy Rain, the newest expansion to Heat, Pedal to the Metal. Now, we all knew this was coming because the base game of Heat had, like, extra slots for 2 more cards and just slots for extra cards. So, whenever they announced this expansion, I immediately pre-ordered it because somehow I was like able to get a copy of Heat when it was online, and then don't know what happened. Besides Heat being a fantastic game, word got around, and then it was like difficult to find, and people were price gouging because they suck. So I didn't want to fall into that with this expansion where it's like, well, I'm never going to get a copy. So I was able to pre-order it, and I gotta say, I'm slightly disappointed in the expansion. Don't get me wrong, the expansion and what it brings is good. Like, the content is good. I think where I'm disappointed is that there's not a lot of content here. Now, I still think that they have tons of expansions planned. Like, because what comes with this expansion is 1 more car. So, which in the base game insert, there were spots for 2. So it's like, okay, at least 1 more expansion is coming. If I had to guess, probably another one like this. And 2 maps, 1 double-sided board. And we'll go into the specifics of all that. And then basically some extra cards for the other stuff. So there's like, I have the components right here. So more Heat cards, more stress, couple sponsorship cards, not a couple, 7. 12 upgrades, so really 6 new upgrades. There's 2 copies each. 4 events for the 1964 season, and then track cards. That's it. That's literally it. So nothing new. And in the box, it looks like they're showing like extra spots for more tokens. And so I don't know. I think it's called Heavy Rain, funny enough, but yet only 1 map deals with rain, and then the other map deals with what's called, I'm guessing they're called chicanes. It's chicanese. I actually have no idea like how that's pronounced. And that's it. So it's not that this expansion is bad by any means. If you can get it, definitely get it, because there's certain expansions that like will come to a game that basically add a whole bunch, and it can become cumbersome to throw it in with the game. And that's where this expansion exceeds, because it is literally just more content for Heat, which is fantastic. I don't know what I was wanting. I think what I was wanting was basically them to fill out the box from this expansion. So it's not that they were, that it's like, oh god, this sucks. It almost feels a little bit like, because this Heat has been out for so long, that it's like, okay, it almost feels like this expansion is like kind of how DLC is, where, hey, we could have made 1 bigger expansion, come with 4 more new maps, and 2 new cars, and a bunch more cards, but what if we made more money by splitting 1 big expansion into 2 expansions? That's kind of how it feels a little bit. And, I mean, I don't know Days of Wonder to be super shady or anything, so I don't know. It's just, like, it's called Heavy Rain. Only 1 map deals with rain, and it's, like, a small paragraph. And so it's like, okay, well, they didn't add anything to make the other maps any more unique, like any new rules. Like, you can't include the flooded spaces into France or into the USA. It's just, nope, only Japan deals with flooded spaces. They do that for the chicanes, though, where it mentions both of these maps, Mexico and Japan, have these chicanes rules. And they do mention, hey, you can actually implement this on the Great Britain map, but not for any of the other ones. So you can't do it for France, you can't do it for Italy, and you can't do it for USA. You can only do it for Great Britain. And then they also do some other weird stuff. They give you a new score pad, but then since they added orange, what they didn't do, they didn't give new updated legend cards. And this is a minor complaint, but it's just weird because when you're playing, they don't give you any new rules for like implementing legends. So now in the original game, you could play solo and you could have up to, what was it, 2, 4, 6. You could have up to 5 other legends. Well, nothing in the rules of this one says anything different, so you could have up to 6 legends, which is how I played to play out these new maps. So you can have 7 total racers, except they didn't give new legends cards. So you have to use these, which basically means if you're playing, you have to play orange, which again does not matter gameplay wise. This does not matter what color you are. And so I think that's just where they went. They were like, hey, there's no point in printing off new cards, just play orange. Well, I mean, there's a couple things. Most people like to play their favorite color. Boo-hoo if you can't, I guess. But most people like to. And I guess if you're colorblind, maybe you want to pick a color. And maybe orange isn't a colorblind color. I don't know. But maybe you wanted to pick a color that you could always tell what was yours. So if orange is not something you can readily discern between red and orange, then if you're like, hey, I can tell that, black, that's me. So I want to play black. Well, you can't, because you have to play orange if you want to throw in all the legends. I really think it was a cost savings measure to just not print off 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 new cards for every single box to implement orange. But the weird part is it's like, well, if you're only including 1 extra racer and there's a spot in the insert for a new racer to fill that out, well then when that expansion comes out, are you going to print off 10 new legends cards then? So because then if you don't do that, then you can't play solo with every single legend. But what's also weird about that is these maps, and I don't know if the other ones do. Let me check real quick. No. So what's weird is for Mexico and Japan, I believe. Let me double check this. Where is it? Yeah, they go up to 12 spots. And the starting spots also went up to 12. So it's like, okay, well, the original maps went up to 8, which make you think, okay, well, that makes sense because there are 6 total colors, 7 and then 8. So then you could play with a full 8 player count, and you would have up to 8 spots if you did the championship. Well, Mexico and Japan go up to 12. So does that mean, okay, you have grander plans, and your plan is to actually go up to 12 racers to fill that out? But then, how do you do that for the other maps? I guess it doesn't really matter, because after 7 to 12, you don't score any points, but I guess it matters for placement. So there's just weird design decisions that they did here with the legends and the extra racers. So it makes me think, okay, well, Heat went off like gangbusters. It was constantly sold out. So then they made this expansion. Kate gave us just a little bit. Probably going to do another one small like this, and then just keep doing some small packs, or maybe just a ton of small boxes like this where you have a shit ton of maps. Because the best part about Heat is, the best thing they could do for Heat is give you new maps, honestly. Because there's a ton of garage cards, sponsorship cards, there's a ton of modules you can throw in that literally the content of the base game is good enough as long as you just have different maps to race on. Anyway, so speaking of maps, let's actually get into it. So the one that this game promotes, pretty much, is Japan. So I'll actually show what Japan looks like. So here's Japan. And both the maps are great. They're simple, like they didn't really go too hard on the rules. So for Japan, it has these flooded spaces that are pretty much just around the corners. And all flooded spaces do is that now if you want to shift down with your gear, it costs an extra heat. So shifting down never costs a heat unless you shifted twice. Now if you shift down, it costs 1 heat. If you shift down twice, it costs 2 heat. Only if you start your turn in those spaces. That's it. That's pretty much the new rule, because the Mexico one doesn't have flooded spaces. It deals with the chicanes, but both of these maps do. So there you go. If you want new maps and Heavy Rain apparently is only in Japan. And then I guess you do 2 laps in Japan. You start with 7 heat and 3 stress. Yeah, that's Japan here. And yeah, so like I said, it's only on the corners, and I mean it's still a good map, like all the other ones. Like you have to deal with. I mean the flood spaces do come into play and it makes sense that they're around the corners, because that's usually when you're wanting to shift down so you can not wreck. But it costs now heat, so if you really burn yourself out on heat and you can't do anything, then you're almost guaranteed to crash. Like if you can't shift down and you can't spend the heat, so you have to play 3 or 4 cards. But the other thing is like those spots are not super low. The only spots with the flooded spaces have a 3, 4, and 5 threshold, curve threshold. So I didn't find they came into play all that much, but they do. So that's Japan. I mean, the artwork's fantastic too. But then you have Mexico. So that's what Mexico looks like. And Mexico is pretty cool because this one seems to deal a lot more with the chicanes or chickens, or God, I have no idea. Because they have like literally a 2 threshold, a space, and then another 2 threshold that you have to bank around. So the chicanes are basically 2 back-to-back corners, which is why Great Britain can have some, and it tells you which ones to mark for the chicanes. But that also comes into play the chicanes literally only come into play if you use the weather and road conditions module. If you don't, that rule does not apply to you. You treat them like regular corners. But they do come into play a lot in solo. Like when you're playing solo, there's the road signs with the 3, 2, 1, and 0. They have like a black arrow above them, and that implements the aggressive legends rule, where normally legends can only ever cross one corner. Now, if they start their movement in a spot with those road signs with a black arrow above them, they can now cross an additional thing. So it basically means that they're not going to just get blocked up on those corners. Now they can pass both of them. And that's not even a module. That's just something that is now a rule. Which is fine, because I get why they add that to the Great Britain map, because that's the only one I've ever been able to do well against the legends, because they get bottlenecked in the corner, and you can meticulously plan around that, and they really can't. So I get why they have them, so the legends just aren't getting stuck and doing nothing. But yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, championship system. You can to play the 1964 season or create a custom championship. It adds a new super cool symbol where you can look through your discard pile and remove heat cards from it. So that's a new symbol that's added. Yeah. So again, I love Heat. Heat is such a fantastic game. This expansion is good. It does what a lot of expansions should do, which is just add more content. I just can't help but feel a little weird about some aspects of the game. It's mainly, okay, now there's 12 spots on the placement board when there was only 8. You only gave us 1 extra racer. Legend cards aren't updated. So yeah, it's more of like, okay, this expansion is here, but then you called it Heavy Rain, and all the thing is like, ooh, like what does it say? It says like, it was on the rules. It was no pain, no gain, I think is what it said, something like that. Oh, come on, you fucker. Yeah, no rain, no pain. Yeah, The engines are roaring to life and rain is relentlessly pouring down. The atmosphere at the Japan Grand Prix is charged with anticipation and uncertainty. The preceding track that once promised speed and precision now glistens with raindrops, becoming a treacherous ribbon of asphalt demanding the utmost skill and concentration from the drivers. But only for one map in this entire thing. So we're promoting Japan, and Japan is you know, the new hotness of racing. Anyway, here's a paragraph of rules and one map. No other cards or weather cards or anything to implement the heavy rain. Here's 4 event cards for the 1964 championship. Anyway, you can also race in Mexico if you want. It never rains there, so yeah. Anyway, $50, please. No, I actually don't remember how much this was. I don't think it was 50. So you see what I mean? You see why I'm like weirded by this expansion? I'm like, yeah, more content for Heat, awesome, and it's gonna fit in the OG box. That's great. Do you have more? Like, is there more? Like, what's like what? Asger Harding? Is there like more you cooking up in the back? Yes. Well, okay. I don't know. Like, so, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving Heat Heavy Rain a 7. Like, it's still a good expansion, but I was just thinking, like, with how well they did the core box, how much content they stuffed in that thing, without going to Kickstarter, without it being bloat, with them being modules that are easy to throw in, like, that are all great. The garage module's awesome. The sponsorship module's awesome. The road and weather condition module, like, all of them are fantastic. And they're like, oh man, we really gave them a lot of content. Oh, whatever. Just throw some shit in a box and sell it as an expansion. Like, that's kind of what it feels like. I feel like they really dropped the ball a little bit on the expansion, even though it's good. It's good, but it could have been great. So I guess this is kind of like a wait and see. Like, if this is the only expansion they do for Heat, that would be strange with just kind of what I'm seeing. So I guess it's like, okay, yeah, they do another box, just market it appropriate instead of really making it seem like rain is going to be the new, hey, like, boom, now you have to deal with rain, even though you deal with rain with the weather and road conditions. It's like, okay, but it's really only a factor, like, actually on one map. I don't know. I get, like, it is interesting that, like, the Japan map literally has something on the board that is there. So you can throw in the weather and road conditions on that one. You can throw all the modules on that map, but that map has its own separate, like, specific rules. But they didn't really do that for Mexico, and none of the other maps have that. So it would be interesting, and I'd like to see in the future, like, all the other maps get something about them, even though they didn't design it that way. But Japan specifically does, but none of the other... It's you see where I'm coming from? You see what I'm saying? Anyway, like, 7 out of 10. So that's my thoughts on Heat Heavy Rain. Let me know what you think of the expansion in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.